like to welcome all to our February 1st Wilton Town Board meeting and a public hearing amendment to public utilities 129-4. Has anybody signed up to speak?
Nancy, can you see?
Anybody signed up to
Please,
speak?
thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Sorry, I walked right by it. If you do number 7. You do these? Yes, please, thank you.
I'm doing my glasses.
I can do it. No, that's the forward head. Is there another one? I don't really know when's that.
Well, I'm going to add so much to that, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan Riper, Assistant Town Clerk.
No? Thank you. No one signed up, Joe.
Ryan Riper, Assistant Town Clerk. Public hearing.
Second.
John, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'd like to start the regular town board meeting with the pledge of allegiance. Y'all rise, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
All right.
Supervisor Lamb?
Yeah.
Deputy Supervisor McEachran?
Here.
Councilman Bogartis?
Here.
Councilwoman Colligan? Here. Councilman O'Connor?
On the wind.
We'd like to honor a long-time dedicated town employee tonight, Tracy Moran. Tracy worked for the court system. I'm sorry, Tracy ran the court system, kept the judges in line. Town has a nice plaque for her. And I want to give our Honorable Judge Cosio the honor of presenting it to her. Imagine he's got his own speech too.
Yeah.
Want to come up, Trace? Come on up. I want to get your grandchildren up.
Kids are like, what? How to brush my teeth.
Mr. Supervisor, members of our town council, and members of the town of Wilton. Last month, I rose as a citizen during public comment to what I felt to be appropriately recognized Tracy Moran on her 30-plus years of service to the town of Wilton. It thus gives me an incredible amount of pride and joy to be able to recognize her in our official capacity for her retirement, for providing over 30 years of good and faithful service to the town of Wilton and the town court. Judge Town and I, as Supervisor Lane indicated, could not have done our job without her. She served Judge Worth, Judge Wood, Judge Town, and myself for over 30 years. She ran our court with the assistance of her team. She has made our team better, our court better. She has kept Wilton's court the best in our county and easily one of the best in the state, for which she was recognized in 2019 as our clerk of the year by the State Management Association. More than that, she has instilled in everyone who has ever come before her a sense of commitment to the job. She's treated everyone who has appeared before her with respect, with dignity, with common courtesy. She has passed along that sense of community service to her daughter, her brother, everyone who has come with her. She radiates what it means to be a public servant. And please don't take my word for it. If you Google the Wilton Town Court and read our reviews, thank you so much, Tracy, for dealing with me on the phone and going above and beyond your job requirements to be one of the few to actually help with my situation, and the Wilton Town Court for being so flexible. It is said that if you choose to treat everyone with kindness and respect, even those that are rude to you, not because they deserve it, but because it's a reflection of who you are, Your actions define your character and the way you navigate your world. Tracy's actions are the very definition of character, and we should be so lucky to navigate our world the way that Tracy has for the last 30 years to this court and to this town. As I said a month ago, the town of Wilton should be proud to have someone like Tracy Moran be its resident and to have so faithfully served it. We are fortunate, we are lucky. And so for that reason, in recognition of your lifetime commitment to public service and the community, for your many years of good and faithful service to the Wilton Town Court and to its judges, the New York State Magistrate Association named you Court Clerk of the Year in 2019. This is a testament of your abilities, knowledge, and service to the town and all who came before the court. The Wilton Town Board and the residents of this town extend its sincere appreciation for your 30 years of service and dedication while serving as the clerk to the justice. Dated today's date. You may call me boss, but you have been my boss. And you have been my friend and inspiration for a very long time. It has been my absolute joy and pleasure, as it is every single member of our team, to have had the privilege of working with you. Your focus has always been on team. You have led our team, and we have been better for it. So to that, please recognize Tracy. David, Sherry, Melissa, please, let's.
You can come right out the front.
Come on, guys. You guys.
No, that's Scott's sister. Is that Scott's sister? That's what I thought.
And this is Tracy's favorite thing to do, to actually recognize the good work that she has done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still have it for a couple months, right? Kind of per diem.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tracy. Awesome job.
Enjoy your singing.
Thank you. Good Lord, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Anybody signed up to speak?
Steve Badarian.
Stephen?
Thank you before your election.
In an effort to be brief, I won't take all 3 minutes. I'm sitting on it for me. I'm Steve Badarian, 8 Woodland Drive. Just a quick comment. I see on our agenda today, we're looking at waivers for 2 different liquor licenses. And I just wanted to point out, though, that if we are looking at this, we are, in effect, choosing winners and losers in the vice market. We had a couple in here presenting a request for a cannabis outlet for the town of Wilton. That outlet is now being located in Glens Falls, which is in Warren County, so we won't benefit from any of the taxes from that business whatsoever. And that was announced in several papers, so just thought I would point that out. And thanks.
Thank you.
Our kids won't be affected either.
And Tony Sturm.
Tony?
Thank you. Tony Sturm, 41 Parkhurst Road. I wanted to comment and to ask the board, there was in the supporting documentation for this meeting today, there was a zoning change, and it was one of the only zoning changes that seemed to appear, and it was a change in the square footage requirement for a two-family home, so that would mean a mother-in-law apartment, two-family home, and the square footage requirement was increased from 80,000 square feet to 100,000 square feet. And I wanted to ask the board or Deputy Supervisor McCachran, who chaired the Zoning and Code Revision Committee, what was the rationale behind that? I know there were discussions about increasing the lot size requirement in various zones, specifically I think it was R2, but this is actually the only change that has seemed to come down the pike. And in a time where affordable housing and housing stock in our town and really throughout a lot of the state and certainly Saratoga County is really short, it seems it doesn't make sense to me to make it more difficult for people if they want to have to create a mother-in-law apartment or some other kind of thing like that to sort of further limit them by increasing the lot size that they need to be able to do that.
I didn't hear that question during our meeting, so it was just strange that I'm hearing it now in the public hearing, but that was a board of all of us. It mainly came down to a numbers thing. It made it easier to, the change wasn't significant enough to where it would change anything. Any of them points you just made on public housing or in-law apartments or any of that nature, so I'm not quite sure what I'm not sure what the question is, but it was a table full of us, and I don't have my notes in front of me why we made that change, but it was a recommendation from our building department, and everybody at the table agreed to. But it was more to make it, I think, easier to figure out the square footage at 100 rather than 80 point something. You know, everything was like halves, and we just wanted round numbers, so. But there was some other changes that are coming about. I don't know if they're, I haven't talked to Mark on any of it that came here, so. But all these questions would have been great at the time of the meeting, and I know I saw you there, so I'm not sure why it wasn't brought up, but, and I let everybody from the audience speak, so not sure.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? You want to make a motion to approve the pending minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Stormwater management presentation. Lou?
Presentation? Well, just a 3 to 5. So I don't really have a presentation. It's more
But you know what you're talking about. You know that.
I do get paid to know what I'm talking about, yeah.
That's a good thing.
So you may know me, I think personally, I don't think it's probably the first time you guys have met me professionally. My name is Blue Niels. I'm the Intermunicipal Stormwater Management Coordinator for Saratoga County. I've been in that position for 20 years now, since 2004. Yeah, that's the expression I put on every day.
Whoa.
Wow.
God bless you.
So after a very long waiting period, we have a new MS4 permit. So there's a lot of things that have to be done for all the permittees, including the town of Wilton, which I live in, so I have a vested interest in how well you guys do some of this stuff. There's a lot of steps, because over the next 5 years, the permit landscape, the amount of staff time that's going to be required, the amount of administrative work, everything is going to grow. This first year, as we were talking about in the meeting today, it's a pretty manageable meal. We can nibble at it. There are definitive goals, and we know that thanks to like past investments, we're really like 3/4 of the way there. We just need to make sure that everything we have fits with the permit, and then we're good to go, check those things off, and then move on to the next things that we know we don't have and need to work on right away, right? So we're in the midst of doing that. You'll see my name come up, John, at the Board of Supervisors, because we have to move a motion forward there to make the Commissioner of Public Works the duly authorized rep for the permit. what we discovered there was that there was an oversight made, and that actual resolution was never made, and it's required it was required back in '02 when the first thing was filed. It's still required to this day, so we're kind of also using it as an opportunity to kind of reboot things a little bit and get rid of old sins of omission, say, right? But I think probably the reason Ryan wanted me here today was to answer any questions you guys have, or if you need me to, I can give you a quick thumbnail sketch of what the permit is, what it entails, and those kinds of things, if you have the patience to indulge it.
I will, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the MS4, or the Municipal Separate Storm Service System Permit, that's why we use the acronym, right? The town's been a permittee since 2003. You are one of 544 permittees across the state. It's a mixed bag of towns, cities, villages, counties. Saratoga County is one, but also institutions and agencies. DOT, oddly enough, DEC has stormwater permitted facilities, those are facilities, day camps, the summertime camps, facilities and things. They also have a couple of larger operation yards that require that. So at any rate, it's a mixed bag across the state. The permit itself requires 6 minimum control measures be implemented by all the permittees. They're public ed, public involvement, illicit discharges, which is anything not stormwater getting into the storm sewer system, construction, post-construction. Those two are basically tied hand in glove. Because first comes it's like the old nursery rhyme. First comes the construction, then comes the post-construction, right? So you have to regulate everything when anchoring up that disturbs soil, and certain projects require post-construction controls, and this is where one of the big lifts will come in. The permit mandates that the post-construction controls, these are ponds, infiltration basins, rain gardens, and in some cases, when you're talking about green infrastructure, we're talking about buffer areas and tree plantings, believe it or not. So like a street tree is actually a stormwater practice. So there's going to be a lot of growing pains to that. But one of the town's responsibilities under the permit is to make sure that all those things are being inspected and maintained as they're supposed to be, right? Because there's specifications on all of it, including the trees, right? Then we get to the last but not least, minimum control measure 6, which is the town's own facilities and operations. That will also be a big lift in year 3 because we're going to have to develop plans specific to your facility, your highway department, this complex here, in terms of how you manage your stormwater pollution, right? So all this stuff is going to be implemented over the course of the next 5 years, right? The first item up for bids is the NOI that has to be filed by the 20th of this month, right? And we've already talked about that and talked about it, and we're going to talk about it 3 more times before we actually run out of time to talk about it, and it has to be done. So those things are pretty well in hand at this point, I think. It's the next couple of years that are going to really sort of tell the tale of what this is going to take to actually get done. Because like I said, in the first year, it's pretty manageable. It's sort of a slow walking start. But by years 2 and 3, you've really got to be on your way to having a completely developed program. So to give you a flavor of what that means, our first permit was about 28 pages long. The next permit we came out with, was about 90 or so. So it's, bureaucratically speaking, much more respectable as a statewide general permit, right? The version that came after that is about 115, 116 pages. This current version is over 190.
With a fact sheet of...
The fact sheet, and I use big air quotes, it's 50 pages long. Right. So there's a lot to digest there. Even though this first year, we kind of got our hands on it, a lot more is coming. Right? So if you guys have any questions about this, my office, my door is always open, and Ryan knows this because he avails himself of us all the time. Our function in the county and locally is to provide those things for you that we can at economies of scale. That's sort of my directive from the board of supervisors. So we've made a lot of investments in those economies of scale over the last 2 decades. We spent over $1 million in state aid on what is comparatively one of the top line GIS systems just for managing this permit alone across the state. We have a huge wealth of public ed materials and a lot of deep technical knowledge that goes along with all of that stuff. We also have a lot of scientific equipment that helps out with some of the more sciencey parts of the job, the illicit discharge. Do you have a question, Mr.
I do, actually. A couple of them, actually. Will this affect future commercial and residential developments?
Yeah, it will, in many ways. So in the sphere of construction, there's a few things going on there that the town should be aware of. The first thing is when you've got a project, you've got to be aware of how you're going to prioritize its project. So there's a high priority and a low priority. Right. Low priority only needs to be inspected, I think, what is it, once every 5 years, right? The high priority minimum once every year, okay? That's pretty run-of-the-mill business at this point. So that really doesn't change things too much. It's the prioritization part, because you now have to change your inventories, we have to change our GIS system and everything else like that. There's going to be some adjustment there, right? But then you've got to consider as a town, do we want to steer people away from these areas as high priority? The reason that they are high priority is they're attached to or in the general watershed of water resources. The Snickle, for example. Right. Just, you know, top of my head. So that's important. But then on the back side of this, that's where the real rubber hits the road, because when you're talking about commercial projects in particular, they're all required to have these post-construction controls, all period. It's 1 acre, it's going to be residential, it's a little bit different, right? You got to be up over 5 acres or a certain percentage. Those things have to land in the town's inventories, and we have to work the system out to do a couple of things. First of all, is to make sure that when the developer comes through and they build their building and they turn it over to the owner-operator, right, they know that there's a responsibility attached to the stormwater. And the responsibility includes its maintenance and operation that requires annual inspection and actually maintaining the thing. Not looking at it going, I'll get to that later. You know, it can't work that way. Now, the lift for the town is, according to the permit, you have to track that somehow. So that means you've got to get a private entity to act and then return the information to you somehow so that you can verify all this stuff. And if the EPA or the DEC audits your program, you have documentary proof that this is in fact what is going on. So what we're working on right now, we've actually hired a firm out of Buffalo to develop the app for us, is a way for HOAs, commercial operators, anybody, layperson, all you need is a smartphone, because the app's basically just its own web page. You input what you need to input, which is basically, for level 1 inspections, it's photographs of the key inspection points, right? So we're trying to figure out a way to do the education part online and then do the reporting part online. And it's a real simple lift, because all that information just gets backfed into our GIS, which also acts as a giant archive for all our records of activity, right? That's the beauty of that technology, is that you're out there doing it and recording the data at the same time, and it's all getting logged in real time. So there's no more paperwork. You don't need to do this stuff, because that's a huge time suck, and a lot of things get missed in transposition.
Who's you, as you are out there taking photos and uploading them?
So,
The town?
so we have to inspect all the stormwater management practices that are out there. So the commercial ones that are existing, as you know, probably between Lowe's and Walmart, that big.
Those are horrible.
There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going.
To get these entities to actually do that.
Yeah, because we have a lot of
spend
flooding
money.
down through there.
You know, like Panera, Lowe's Drive.
Yeah.
Floods all the time.
Yeah.
I sent an email with pictures to the engineer who designed it.
Those practices, I can tell you, because I see them all the time, literally every day, rain or shine, that like sort of clayey muck that you see at the bottom of those, that's the parking lot. Tiny little bits of it that erode all day, every day, with every single car travel. And so that builds up on the pavement. When it rains, it washes into those areas, which are basically supposed to be infiltration basins with some overflow into a dry well system, I think is the way it works, right? So it's deeper infiltration.
administration. And that grayness, that's the parking lot. What is a parking lot? It's impervious. So guess what the stormwater management area is? I would argue pretty impervious. That's why you see this like feet deep ponding in there. So yeah, they need to be absolutely.
I know the last couple of years, we've worked with Town Highway, pumping out streets with the local fire departments and stuff like that.
This is the real rub, right? So it takes me a while to get there sometimes. But I get there.
Is this going to be a part of our planning board's responsibility to make sure these plans are included with developments and
All
stuff?
plans are reviewed, there's a whole stormwater design, stormwater design is about that.
But the planning board is involved with it prior to approvals.
So they go through this. Actually, yesterday at the Sarasota County Conference, there was a session on this, what the planning boards, how they're responsible.
Yeah, what your responsibilities are. I think too, because we were just talking about this today as well, you have two local laws that were models that were given out by the DEC and Department of State back in 2006, right? That's by and large what everybody has adopted. Well, since 2006, we've had three other construction permits, and now officially 3 more MS4 permits since that point in time. Lots changed. So while the construction permit, like just for example with the construction law, the construction permit that's supposed to be sort of a mirror of the local law, the two programs are supposed to be like mirrors of one another. That's really advanced. It's gone a long way because it's had a lot of input from a lot of different actors all across the state that have to deal with this stuff on a bread and butter basis. Your local laws haven't changed. You adopted them probably back in 08 at the last minute, which is the strategy back then. So I think for our discussions today in the committee, some of that stuff we're going to take a hard look at because I think it needs to be updated. The thing about the maintenance agreements has to be harped on. The thing about review has to be like right up front. This is what we want to see. What's required in the stormwater pollution prevention plan for these commercial projects. A part of that post-construction plan has to be an operation and maintenance plan that specifies all the different activities, when they happen, what are the key inspection points, and what we were talking about today is like really pushing a cost estimate. Occasionally you see these things that is very lightweight, it's fluffy, it's not a serious attempt at actually trying to nail down how much it's going to cost a business or an HOA or the town or any entity, how much it's really going to cost to operate this thing. One of the things that we pointed out though is that what has happened, not unlike the situation we're talking about over by Lowe's Drive, there's a lot of deferred maintenance. Everybody own a house here, you know what I'm talking about deferred maintenance and how expensive and how awful the job gets the longer you defer the maintenance. The same holds true with stormwater. If you don't keep it up, it gets more and more expensive and it gets to be more and more of a lift every year,
So those are commercial. So we, the town, we own several basins and,
I know on Beverly Street, we own a few.
And that's where, the highway department.
Yeah.
And clean these out, work on those. All the structures in the road need to be cleaned out, inspected. So it's going to be, years, we were saying, a couple of years.
Catch basins have to be cleaned and inspected. That's that will be just an ongoing every year activity. Your streets have to be swept. That's going to be an annual event that you have to track in terms of the actual mile swept, right? These kinds of things. You, every year, will have to evaluate your facility-specific SWIP, that's the stormwater plan for the complex, and make sure that it's still up to snuff. Is there anything that's changed? Is there anything that you need to change? Those kinds of things, right? So you're going to have to do that work every single year. It's lather, rinse, repeat. This is what the permit is gearing you up to. By year 5, we'll just be doing all this stuff every single year. It'll be a routinized piece of business.
Gotta get there though.
It's like slow bits.
And your office, Ryan, is responsible for the inspections and stuff? See another position coming in there.
So,
That's a lot of work, just a yearly inspection.
So Blue's been working on that.
As we get more familiar with the permit, the way it's written in the final version, analysis is fine, but right now my priority is making sure everybody's got the tools that they need to get this job done and not really worry too much about analysis and dollars and cents. That time will come soon enough. So, because we have like 6-month deadlines, like we've got things that are coming due in July on the 3rd, right got things coming up soon. But right after that, things then we hope will be a little bit ahead, and we can stop and analyze these things, because I'm curious to see it too. I really am. We analyze the draft permit just from an administrative standpoint. I know, after doing this for 20 years, I know how long it takes to write a report. I know how long it takes to travel from Boston Spa to wherever in this county and go do a site investigation, talk to a resident, get the facts, come back, write a report, all this stuff, right? How long it takes to do a construction site inspection. How long it takes to inspect catch basins in an entire neighborhood that's got like 25, 30, 40, 50 of them, right? We have a lot of experience, so it's easier for us to estimate, okay, you're telling us you gotta have all this stuff in this permit, in the draft. We came up with a number just north of 20,000 hours. That's 10 full-time positions. Well, that was crazy. And our comments said so. Very clearly, right? Politely, but clearly, right? That was just, it's gonna overwhelm us. So we're not too sure how this is gonna work out, because a lot of the stuff that they had put in there has now been really simplified and distilled down. The high priority construction thing, for example, that was a once a month proposal in the draft. Yeah.
Ouch.
Well, when you look at towns like Wilton Park, whose most of their urbanized area is in the Dwaskill watershed, the Dwaskill watershed and all its tributaries are impaired. So no matter where you build there, you are in a high priority zone and you are going to get inspected every month because the town is obligated to do that. Now, there's one person inspecting there, right, through the entirety of Wilton Park, doing those active construction site inspections. And he's got 3 other hats already. He's been there for about 10, 12 years, 10 years or so with the town now. Yeah, he's been there for a bit.
I just think everybody that's in these positions wear multiple hats, and it's very difficult. I think DEC looks at it as, oh, the towns would just hire staff to do this.
Yeah, not giving like any credence at all as to like where would that money come from and how would they plan. You know, looking at it now, no one's saying like 5 years down the road, I should plan on having 1 other position, 1.5 more positions, or whatever it works out being. This is what eventually makes that analysis so critical.
But do they need to be licensed engineers? Like, how many people do they think are
No, so this is a good part.
actually out there to hire?
Yeah,
for this?
That's sort of the problem, is like our workforce is not, my example would be me. My background is in forestry. I have 2 degrees from ESF, okay, both in forestry. I do stormwater. I've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
But that's our pool. The Ally Eustace, who is my support specialist, part-time. She used to be like a technical specialist, but she went to part-time when she became a mom, which we were grateful to even keep her for part-time because she's killer. She has basically like a BA in environmental studies from St. Lawrence. This is the pool of our talent, right? And some of the people in the pool, like Ally, are really talented. So I'm not too worried about it. It's more of, will they stick around? That's my biggest issue. Is I can recruit people into coming to work for Cornell University. That's not a hard one. Where it gets hard is to actually keep them on the job.
Retention.
Yeah, retention's a huge issue. That's another conversation.
Yeah, it is. We're struggling with it here.
Yeah, it's a problem all over, to be honest with you. I mean, we were having this conversation with some of the county folks, the DPW folks, and engineering staff, and actually office staff are like jumping in the trucks and operating wing plows.
There you go, Mike.
They can't find anybody to go drivers.
There you go, Mike.
So don't feel bad. There's a lot going on. Just like the flu at my house, no, don't worry, I'm fine. There's a lot of that stuff going around, you know. Anyways, I've probably taken up enough of the board's time, so I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, and you guys go get it.
Thanks for living in Wilton.
Wonderful. I mean, 30-plus years, I'm a
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Well, you got 20 in, so.
Yes, I do. We have 5 more to go.
Who's counting? Interesting.
And after hearing what a wonderful job it's going to be, we got to appoint a stormwater management coordinator, which will be Ryan Riper. We need a motion.
I'll make a motion and a resolution.
Second.
Sure. No. You gotta read
Yeah, I resolve that Ryan Riker, PE, is designated as Stormwater Program Coordinator and Stormwater Management Officer for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems, MS4 permit requirements. Resolve that town supervisor is authorized to sign the ENOI Notice of Intent for coverage under the MS4 GP24.
One more hat, Ryan.
And whatever other duties we come up with.
Do we have a second on that?
Oh, second, that last part too.
So when he says he takes people out of the office, should we buy Amy some rubber boots now?
Councilman,
Oh, absolutely.
we got a second?
I did.
That motion was no more pay though, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Up there with the
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, Ryan.
increment in it.
Anytime.
Did you oppose it? I heard him say opposed.
You don't have a vote, Ryan.
Amendment to Public Utilities 129-4.
Position.
That was it. Public hearing.
Yeah.
Got a motion?
Make a motion.
Have a second?
What, set a public hearing?
No,
No, we
Oh,
have.
that was our
that
public
was
hearing, yes.
John Catherine. He made the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Third.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fluoridation of our water. Peter, you want to speak, sir?
So, hi everyone, I'm Peter Linder. For those of you who don't know me, I recently moved to Wilton. I'm a citizen here, a parent, and I've brought, I tend to talk too much, so I'm going to show a video, try not to talk too much, and then I brought Dr. Moss and Dr. Harrison to field some touch. Right into the video.
Hide in our community water is a good thing. Here's why. Community water fluoridation is considered one of 10 great public health achievements of the 20th century. In fact, over 100 national health organizations recognize the public health benefits of fluoride in our community water.
It's so important that we prevent tooth decay, which can be a very serious disease if it's not treated. Water fluoridation helps adults as well as children. We have evidence of that. People are keeping their teeth longer, thank goodness.
It's effective.
I'm a mom, I'm a dental hygienist, and I'm also a researcher. And I like to wear all three hats. I always try to find the best science and evidence when I'm trying to make decisions about my children. And fluoride, especially through community water fluoridations, is one of those no-brainers.
It's safe.
Fluoride in community water is absolutely safe. It's been used for over 70 years to help prevent tooth decay.
Thousands of Americans are being misinformed about the safety and benefits of fluoridation. Now, if they go to a credible source, if they go to the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, if they go to the American Dental Association, if they go to ILikeMyTeeth.org, when they go to credible sources, they get the facts, the true science, and information.
I have absolutely no concern about community water fluoridation and harming the children. I'm actually more concerned about not having fluoride.
Fluoride is natural. It's a fact that fluoride is naturally present in soil, rivers, lakes, and even the ocean. Water fluoridation is the addition of fluoride up to the recommended level for preventing tooth decay. It's similar to fortifying other foods and beverages, like fortifying salt with iodine, milk with vitamin D, orange juice with calcium, and bread with folic acid. It's preventive.
Why do you need to treat a disease when you can prevent it? It makes sense to prevent disease.
And it's not just saving teeth, it's saving money. Every dollar invested in water fluoridation saves money for families in our communities. That's great news.
This gives us the opportunity to help all Americans be protected from not only mouth disease, but full body disease.
We are all a network and a community that rely on one another for the well-being of ourselves and our own children. And community water fluoridation is a really important example our children in the most healthy way possible.
You want to make an impact on the community? Fluoridation is the foundation for better oral health.
Get the facts. Protect your health. Find out more. Visit ada.org/fluoride.
Can I ask what year that video was?
That video is about 5 years old.
Okay.
So actually, it's been 75 years now. Roughly 75% of the country has fluoridated water, and also New York State is roughly about the same amount. So we saw about 100 plus national organizations. What about locally? Well, so the first one I want to talk about is the Wilton Water Sewer Authority. For the last 25 years, in our annual report, we state the benefits of fluoridation. The reason for that is a portion of Wilton has fluoride in it. That portion is at the Wilton Mall. My understanding is there's 2 connections. So Home Depot, Target, Market 42, and areas around there have fluoride. In addition, City of Saratoga Springs, New York State DOH, Schuyler Center, Shop and Family Dentistry, Dr. Byrne, the pediatric dentist, Community Care Pediatrics, Byrne Orthodontics. These are all people who have had letters in support of fluoride. So I want to talk a little bit about what does this mean to fluoridate our water. So generally what we're aiming for is 0.7 parts per million. So what is a part per million? Roughly, if I was to say 1%, that would be 1 part per 100. So if I took something, cut it up into 1 million pieces, that'd be a part per million. The target for fluoridation is 0.7 parts per million. So what we have here on this map is 16,000 plots, 16,000 groundwater points. And about 83% of them are less than optimal, 17% of them are more than optimal. So we are right about there, right between these 2 green dots. The green dot above us, I believe, is Lake George, which is at about 0.6 parts per million. So if you're Lake George, you decide, hey, we're not going to add fluoride. It's going to be, you have to bring in more equipment, and we're already so close to the optimal level. So this is one of the key reasons why a place like New York State doesn't require it, but they strongly recommend fluoridation as a significant and cost-effective public health measure. So one of the things that, I talk to people about this and they'll say, well, maybe I don't want to consume fluoride. So every single one of us today has consumed fluoride. Fluoride is in all of our foods. It's in higher levels for tea, potato chips and French fries, wine, oatmeal, shrimp, seafood, wheat, bread, rice, raisins. It's in beer, and my favorite, which I couldn't find on this list, was coffee. Coffee is at higher levels, 0.8 to 3 parts per million, depending on how you take your coffee. Now, all of these items, no one is getting a dental benefit from. If you're eating it, you're not getting water to flow over your teeth, and you make the fluoride in there. And then separately, our drinks here, we have coffee, beer, wine. None of them I want my kid drinking. And many of them have sugar in it, so it's really, we're not getting the benefit for this. So here's the recommended levels just about potato chips. So what's great is that I've done some research and found that in 2013, there was a study done. And the reason for the study is pretty validating for me. It's the justification that I found that, hey, fluoride's already added into the part of Wilton due to health benefits, and we wanted to establish what the cost was. So in 2013, what was the cost? The study, and this has already been paid for, was $5,500. Upfront capital is $126,000, and the operation and maintenance is $13,300. Now we have to adjust this for inflation. This is just me putting it into a calculator. So we're talking about a $7,000 study. It's already been paid for, and $165,000 capital. That's a lot of money. New York State DOH since 2018 has rolling grants that will 100% cover any studies and any upfront capital. So the only thing we'd be left with paying for is operation and maintenance. So $17,400, that is less than $2 per person per year. right? So earlier in the video, they mentioned that there's a cost benefit. Roughly, and I'm giving you the more conservative value of cost, for every $1 spent, you'll save at a minimum $20. Some of the estimates are much higher for larger cities. So this means for me, family of 3, and my wife and my beautiful daughter, we would spend $6 a year, and it would save us $120 in dental fees. So next steps.
Wait, what is that based on?
That's based on multiple studies.
Over how many years? Like, how old are the people we're talking about? It's going to save $120 if I don't, like, I don't cost $120 and I don't consume fluoride in the water. Neither do my 4 children. So how do you estimate that it's going to save a family $120 a year? Like, what is that based on?
So this is based on a wealth of years of data, and actually we have one of the authors here in the audience to answer that question. So I'll finish and then we'll go back to that. So, why not us? Dorothy Nolan is the only school in Saratoga Springs School District on public water that does not receive fluoride water. So from Slade et al., for every 10 children that gain access to fluoridated water, you have 13 fewer decayed surfaces on primary teeth and 3 fewer on permanent teeth. So for a school of 700 students, that's 1,100 more decayed surfaces. But not just children, for everybody, it would present around 25% decay. So for 9,000 people that receive water from WWSA, roughly a decayed surface per year without fluoride. There are 5 surfaces to a teeth. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the top is 5. You would get 2,250 more decayed surfaces than necessary. So this is right now costing just under $500,000 a year. So if we had fluoridated the water in 2013, Wilton citizens would be $5 million more richer.
What? Are you comparing, like, when you look at Dorothy Nolan and the 4 other schools, is there data that's compared the children and the students from one school to the other about their dental? Are we going to bring in socioeconomic status or access to dentistry or health insurance benefits? So these kids or the dentists, are they getting their fluoride twice a year with their visits?
So the data is countywide. There is not data for that school-wide. So my next steps is, and I'm just sorry for kind of rushing through this, attend the next board meeting, contact Mike Mooney. I think he's a great guy. I gave a similar presentation, Ryan, you were at that. I thought it was a very good discussion, right? And it sounded like, hey, we need support one way or another. And then, so thank you. I have with me Dr. Harrison. He's been a dentist in Saratoga Springs, advocated for fluoridation in Gloversville, and he's currently practicing part-time in Albany. And I have Dr. Bill Amos. He's a formal dental director at the CDC, currently a professor at the University of Maryland School of Dentistry. So, thank you.
Who's up first?
Do you guys have any questions? Do you want to?
I don't have any questions.
She's got something to answer.
I'm born and raised in the town of Wilton. I've raised 4 kids, and not one of us has a cavity in our mouth or an issue. And my kids go to community care pediatricians. I remember taking a little fluoride tab, eating when I was little. My kids had their little dropper. And now with water, do the water filters that we have in school now filter fluoride? Do our water bottles, do Britas, water coolers, bottled water, do they carry fluoride?
Does bottled water,
Is there fluoride in bottled water?
Generally, no. There can be. You can buy fluoridated.
But why wouldn't companies put fluoride in bottled water if people are drinking it and it's good for them? Same thing with, the water coolers. I have a water cooler in my house because Wilton does have some hard water. We have water filters, we have water softeners in houses. Does fluoride still get through all of those, including water filtration in our schools where the kids can go fill up their water bottle safely? Does fluoride, so if we're fluoridating our water, is the fluoride actually getting through to our kids' water cups, or is it getting filtered out before it gets there?
So I can answer some of those questions. The introduction here, so I had a 37-year career as a public health dentist in the federal government, so mostly worked at a national level. But actually the last 10 years I was at CDC, and water fluoridation was one of our emphasis areas. I now have a home in Saratoga Springs. I'm in the process of becoming a resident of Saratoga County. And so, while I don't have direct standing here, I want to be a resource. I'm a resource to the whole nation. I'd like to be able to be a resource in my own community. Help you and other policymakers make informed decisions. So you've asked a lot of questions here. Really happy that you and your family hasn't had tooth decay. That's not common. I mean, I do not have any data for this community or this county, but I do know what the national data is. And tooth decay is widespread. And most people by your age, 80% of people by your age have had tooth decay. So, I mean, that's just very common.
By my age?
25.
25. Well, I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm sure that helps a little bit. I do drink one.
So, well, you don't put, it depends on what you put in your coffee, right? The sugar and things like that.
I don't drink coffee.
So
that's fine.
Well, so you asked several questions. So I would not be a good source of this, but I'm sure Dr. Harrison knows that children and adults, everybody with teeth, it's common for the people that have tooth decay. And they have expensive restorative repair for that. It is true that people can prevent tooth decay with good diets and very diligent oral hygiene, which would include the use of fluoride toothpaste, and fluoride mouth rinses, and you said fluoride tablets when the children were young. And in spite of the fact that fluoride toothpaste is really common and almost everybody has that as a habit, in spite of the fact that people go to the dentist, and those that do go to the dentist often get professional high-strength fluoride treatments and get dental sealants. A study that I had the opportunity to be a part of, looking at national data, found that in spite of all that, people that lived in counties that were predominantly fluoridated had less decay, and children who lived in counties that were predominantly fluoridated had less tooth decay than ones that didn't. I was actually surprised, kind of like you, like given all these other ways that we have to prevent decay, and given that if you drink Coca-Cola that was bottled in a fluoridated area, even if you're not in a fluoridated area, you're still getting the fluoridated, that's about bottled water. Most bottled water does not have fluoride because they'll typically try to take all the minerals out and then add minerals that give them the right taste. Dasani, but if you read it, it says we put minerals back in. Most of them just don't have that. But most soft drinks don't treat the water that way. They use whatever waters that comes from the common water utility. So actually most soft drinks and processed beverages and processed foods do have whatever fluoride was in wherever they were manufactured. So some people are indirectly getting those benefits. So I was really shocked, and in spite of that, it does make a difference. Using our national data, looking at as many counties that we have, actually all the children were sampled over the course of, I think, 6 years.
What are the other factors other than fluoridated water? Right, there's got to be a big pool that all comes into the study. So is it socioeconomic? Like what else? Is it city water? Is it where the water's coming from? Is it fresh water? Is it getting put through a treatment plant? Or is it well water? So there's got to be other factors other than fluoridated water, that these numbers are low. Right, in any scientific study, there's going to be multiple factors.
So,
other than just fluoridated water for lower tooth decay.
The studies that are generally done are comparing the fluoridated community and a non-fluoridated community. Some of the studies that have been done, as Peter said, 75% of the community water supplies in the United States are now fluoridated. Some areas, a couple of cities in Canada, were fluoridated, then they withdrew the fluoride, and then they saw the caries rate, decay rate going up, so they fluoridated, they went back to fluoridated. So there's all kinds of studies, look at all types of factors. Some well water can have fluoride in it. As we mentioned, rivers, lakes, the ocean, fluoride is a naturally occurring compound or element, and what we're looking for with water fluoridation is to give the optimal level to the water supply that's going to prevent tooth decay. And when I went to school, one of the first courses I took was on fluoride. And back then we were using fluoride for children, but over the last 75 years, I haven't been doing this for 75 years, but over the 75 years, now what they've learned is, as our population is aging, people are keeping their teeth longer. When you keep your teeth longer, senior citizens have gum recession, so what they get is root decay. That's a big problem with the elderly population, but fluoride helps with that to prevent root decay. So not only is it helping the children, we're now finding that it also helps all ages.
Who's reporting tooth decay? Like statistically, like how do we know how many children in Saratoga County are suffering from tooth decay?
So we don't do that kind of a study. That'd be very expensive to do. There'd have to be a reason why you would think that Saratoga County children would be different than other children.
Well, we're comparing one town to another, fluoridated versus non. So if we look at a larger population.
Most places that chose fluoridate did not ask for a study to see if they had a problem with tooth decay. They noted that there was enough other evidence from other places where they had taken the time and spent money to to either look at one community and how the decay rates changed after they fluoridated, or to compare two different communities.
Yeah, I'm just curious where those stats are coming from. Like, is a dentist reporting every day?
No.
How many kids? Like, I just don't understand where the numbers are reporting.
So these were scientific studies where people were paid with what they call calibrated. They all learned how to detect decay, making the same calls to what would be a decay, what would be not decay, for scientific studies. Which is expensive to do, but you do that often enough to be able to get reliable information. From a practical standpoint, New York is one of the few states where there was actually a study done of Medicaid data. So your point about the social economics affect it, yes. Almost everywhere around the world, people of lower social economic status have more tooth decay than people of more affluent, almost around the world. So that's going to be true, in New York State. Medicaid, or medical assistance, is only low-income people. Only children on Medicaid are ones that qualify. And all dentists are being paid the same. So there's no incentive for dentists in one area to do more fillings in another area or anything like that. And a study of, but we can see which counties in New York were predominantly fluoridated or not. And in counties that were not fluoridated, there was 1/3 more fillings, root canals, the kind of interventions that you do for tooth decay in the Medicaid population. So New York is actually one state where we have answered the question. And that's just looking at Medicaid kids. Kids that aren't on Medicaid still. Maybe your children didn't, but a lot of children do. And you ask any pediatric dentist.
I work every day with kids on Medicaid, so I'm very familiar with.
And as was mentioned earlier, we now understand something that wasn't understood when I went to dental school. Water fluoridation protects people of all ages, and especially now, as mentioned with root caries, the roots are softer than the crowns of the teeth with enamel, and so as people keep their teeth longer, but have receding gums, then they're at risk of root caries, and water fluoridation will help reduce that as well. It's not a panacea. It doesn't prevent 100% of the disease. Study after study, you get different numbers depending on what you're measuring, what age group, whether you're counting teeth or surfaces or whatever, but it's about 25%. So it's not a panacea, but 25% adds up. The average person, if you look at populations, gets one new decayed surface a year. We look at our national data. By the time people are 55 years old, they have 50 surfaces of decayed or filled or missing teeth. So reducing 1/4, that doesn't seem like much, but over a lifetime, it adds up. And over a whole population, it adds up. That statistic about saving $20 for every $1 in the structure, that's year after year after year. So this investment that's made, which the state is going to pay for with grants, your costs are the annual operating costs. So you can see what they're going to be, and we know what the estimate is and what the benefits would be. Kind of coming from one pocket up, you pay a little more for your water bill, and you save $20 for every $1 that you pay to reduce dental.
See, there's a lot of studies going on. I've been reading a lot lately also. It's I mean, all your presentations are all about dentists and everything like that, but the medical field is coming out saying fluorinated water is affecting IQs, hypertension, kidney diseases, increased blood pressures in adults over time, increased blood sugars, neurological problems, skeletal weaknesses, and seizures. With the more fluorinated waters and fluorination that we have consumed over a lifetime, as older adults start getting older, they start suffering from all these. So you're giving us a great argument about teeth, but we're talking about 15 other diseases that are also affected by fluorination. Your presentation's all by dentists. I would like to see some medical professionals, besides dentists, to tell me fluorination is good. All I'm hearing is from dentists, which obviously there is a benefit for teeth.
So
you're talking tooth decay, reducing, but extended use of fluorinated also
If I had
erodes
my
the
choice
enamel of the teeth.
between my teeth and my brain,
Right.
And everybody would. One of the things that I can offer to you is it is much, and you probably know this is true about other things, it's much easier to find misinformation on the internet than it is to find valid information.
So you're saying all these studies are wrong?
Yes.
Really?
And I would point you to the United States Task Force on Community Preventive Services, who makes the recommendation for what would be good public health practice. Typically, there's only 1 out of 12 people on that that's a dentist. There are people, because fluoride occurs naturally in water.
did I hear Lake George has 0.6
Yes.
naturally?
Yes. That's probably not in the lake, that's in the groundwater.
Right, that's what I mean, but that's naturally.
Yes, because it depends on what the minerals are in the ground.
No, I get it. Does anybody up there, can anybody answer the question she made about do the filters take out the fluoride?
I can.
Yeah, but he said Google isn't working.
We have UV filters up in Lake George.
I just Googled it, and Brita and the Pures, they're not certified to remove. It says it requires a...
The same internet he just told us not to trust?
Well, you have to be selective.
Well, that was
I looked at multiple entries.
Understood. I think that's just to Dwayne's point about bringing in other medical professionals.
There's some resources that are more trustworthy than others. I'm sure for anything that you're an expert in, you know.
You guys are advocating to fluorinate Wilton water? Is that what this is all about?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I can support it until I have more data as far as...
It ain't up to us, it's up to Wilton Water Authority. We don't have no say.
I still
But the
can't...
fluoridated water, the portion, but let's
They're against it.
let's be clear though, just so people in the audience know, the portion of Wilton that has fluoridated water is not Wilton water. It comes from the city of Saratoga.
That's correct.
So Wilton is not compartmentalizing where it chooses the fluoridate water.
Well, that was built
It comes
out
from somewhere
there.
else.
They needed the water. I don't think we could supply it. That's why they tied in the city. After we could fill the capacity, they just left it the way it was. That's why it's like that.
That's true.
Want to make sure it's in public record.
Those locations are serviced by WWSA.
Correct, because they are in the
They
town.
buy the water from them. Wilton buys the water from them, sells it to the mall.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I wanted to answer the councilman's question about all those medical conditions that you read are affected by fluoridated water.
A lot lately.
So we saw that a lot of water is naturally because of that natural level of fluoride.
Right.
So that's important to make sure that we know whether those people are going to be harmed. In some places in the United States, it was up to 8 parts per million. So over decades of study, the Environmental Protection Agency is responsible for setting a maximum contaminant level for all kinds of things.
Right.
That's what the annual water report says. This is the maximum contaminant level, and this is how much we have. So, again, the best scientists that can be brought to bear are called together to review the evidence and make recommendations. In the United States, it's the National Research Council, which is a part of the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. This is where we basically, who are the best people to pull together in a committee to look at this. So they have reviewed all evidence of that. And what they've established for the United States is that the maximum contaminant level is 4 parts per million. We do not allow anybody to sell public water that has fluoride levels above that.
Right.
Because of, and it's actually not many of the diseases you mentioned, but skeletal issues and severe dental fluorosis, which is brittle, discolored teeth.
Right.
In fact, even at 2 parts per million or milligrams per liter, children that are at the age where they're developing teeth can get unsightly and in some cases severe dental fluorosis. So it's recommended, even though it's allowed to be provided to people at levels above 2, we recommend that anybody who has children less than 8 do not drink that. What we're talking about here is 0.7. We're talking about a level that's a third of even the part that affects the teeth, and 1/6 of the level beyond which for a lifetime you might have skeletal fluorosis. So all those other diseases you mentioned, IQ and things like that, people are studying that. Some of the IQ concerns come from China where they have 10, 12 parts per million. There is a national toxicology program of the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. They spent several years now trying to answer that question. Is there, just because a few people have done studies claiming to show that that higher levels of fluoride are associated with lower IQ, is there really enough evidence to reach that conclusion? And so far they have not concluded that that is a valid concern. And that is the latest. They have withdrawn the draft statements on that are still being promulgated by the Fluoride Action Network and other anti-fluoride places. They're still using a draft that right on the bottom said, this is a draft, should not be used for public policy, which is a policy of fluoridate for water. The Institute has withdrawn that because it did not pass peer review. The fact that some scientists can write a report doesn't mean, we don't trust that until peer scientists review that and say that those are all valid analyses. But again, I want to be a resource to you so you can operate with the best information and not be misled by things that you can find that are basically false.
Less than half the town is on Wilton water. Everyone else has wells. Do we know if there's fluoride in our well water?
I thought we were at 0.2.
No, in our well water.
In the well. Only half the town's on.
In groundwater, right?
In the same aquifer,
Yeah, groundwater.
probably similar. It's probably, whatever it is, whatever the...
So how are we going to require those people to get to?
No. So
Right.
we will never have...
And then what percentage, I guess, of water actually gets consumed and doesn't get flushed down the toilet or down the shower drain?
Again, people will say, why should we fluoridate when so much of it is flushed down the drain and flushed down the toilets? If this was a toxic chemical that we worried about getting into the
or water or lawns,
the environment, or if this was very expensive, it wouldn't make sense. These statistics that we're sharing with you, the 20-to-1 cost, whatever, $17,000 to operate, that's what it's very inexpensive. Even if it's all flushed down the toilet, it's very inexpensive to get that low dose of fluoride in people's mouths where it can benefit them.
how much water they have to consume to get the amount of fluoride that they need daily?
When they do these studies, they look at there's a curve. Some people don't drink much and some people drink a lot. And so the studies show normal people drinking the normal range of water, whether that be water or tea or coffee or, soft drinks or whatever, normal people receive the appropriate level of benefits from the fluoride in the water. Mental benefits. So I can show you tables and tables of that. There are things that I learned because I'm just speaking about normal people. These studies are about normal people in the United States.
So 8-ounce servings of a beverage a day?
I don't think most.
The daily recommended intake?
I think you read studies, they'll say really that the recommended amount of water has probably been too high. Very few people get the recommended amount. That's kind of an old wives' tale. Mm-hmm. Some people drink it. Some people drink 2 liters of water a day. Not many.
I'm just curious how much it takes to get the proper amount of fluoride. Fluoride, how much they have to consume.
Kim, my wife.
And how much our kids have to consume.
For most adults, we don't worry about how much we're not trying to get an amount consumed, we're trying to get a frequency consumed. Putting fluoride in the mouth means having fluoride in the mouth means fluoride gets in saliva where it's available to help repair decay as it's forming on the teeth.
But the water does more than fluoride toothpaste.
In addition,
or a mouthwash.
Fluoridated water provides additional benefits beyond fluoridated toothpaste. Remember the study I told you where we looked at everybody in the nation knowing that they're brushing with that. Just as toothpaste offers additional benefits over drinking fluoridated water.
But toothpaste is not enough.
No. Well, for your family, with whatever your habits are, apparently they are enough. For most people, it's not enough. Most people, in fact, again, people will add that to help reduce the risk of decay. If you didn't have a choice of what you do, which right now, nobody does, you're going to be very well advised to brush your teeth with fluoride toothpaste two times a day. Use fluoride mouth rinses, maybe the last thing you do before you go to sleep. Because that is the only way you're going to be able to...
My kids had to take a tablet. They took a tablet.
My kids took
like 8 years.
Yeah, I remember they had to take a tablet.
So it wasn't like you were worried about them getting fluoride. You wanted them to get the right amount of fluoride.
That's what our dentist said, to give them 2 tablets.
And that is the alternative to putting it in the water. But we now understand, and we know from our experience, people continue to get the tooth decay throughout their entire lifetime.
Well, my kids are like Aaron's kids. I don't know how, but they passed the
there are
muster.
2 mechanisms that fluoride works through. One is the fluoride that's in the water is consumed by children as the teeth are developing in their body, they're growing in their jaw. Fluoride gets into the teeth, incorporated into the tooth, and the crystals in the tooth are more resistant to decay. That's one way it works. That's the best way to help the children. Children can get too much fluoride. That's why dentists, pediatric dentists,
They slowed it down on the older kid, or the younger
like
kids.
the commercials they show with the toothpaste, you put a lot of toothpaste on the toothbrush. You don't want to do that, especially with small kids. You put a pea-sized amount of toothpaste on a toothbrush. For toothpaste, toothpaste is a higher concentration than what we're talking about with water. So the first mechanism is fluoride gets into the developing tooth. The second mechanism is that fluoride is in the mouth if you're drinking it, with drinking water, which is what we're promoting, and it alters the bacterial level in the plaque on the teeth. So it actually changes the activity of the bacteria in the mouth on the teeth. So those 2 mechanisms work to work.
All right, so one thing I'm going to say is, like, when we brush our teeth with toothpaste, we're affecting one system. We're brushing our teeth, we're rinsing, we're spitting out. When we drink water that has fluorination in it, we're multi-systeming then. We're going through our neurological system, our blood system, our everything. When I drink water, it affects every system of my body. When I brush my teeth, I spit it out and it stays on my teeth. So why should I affect all my systems of my body with fluorinated water where I can isolate it? It's just like a person who has asthma. They use an inhaler. It only goes to their lungs. It doesn't go systematically.
So because...
So to be honest with you, we have no regulatory authority in this matter. I mean, this is an informational thing, and obviously we all have our own opinions very strongly one way or another. So, I mean, I know if it came up, if I had an authority to vote on this, I would probably vote against it. But I have no authority to say yes, no, or anything. Wilton Water is an authority on their own. We have no regulatory over them at all. What their decisions are their decisions. So we can't influence their decisions at all.
But I am happy to hear your concerns, because your concerns are likely to be their concerns. And so it's important for us to know that so we can try to be prepared to answer them. We really didn't want to answer.
I'm on a
Survey would
well.
have done that just as well.
I'm on a well, and if I had Wilton water, I'd bottle my water. I'd buy it because...
I won't drink, to be honest with you, I won't drink water.
I can't drink city water.
I won't drink water out of a faucet. I drink water out of a
I can
faucet.
actually taste the chlorine in it, which turns me off, so I would rather drink the water.
The good news is the fluoride is tasteless. You won't.
No, I'm just saying, well, like city water, if I go to somebody's house, I can't drink it. I have to bring water, or I like it right out of the tap.
Have nice teeth.
So yes, I understand that the Water Authority Board has an authority to do this. I think we're all interested in having the healthiest,
of course,
community. So I think we all can try to influence that, and if we have questions to be answered, again, I will try to be a resource to answer those questions.
And we appreciate that.
Any other questions? If you'd like, I can share some of the journals with you, and if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Resolution number 55, emergency service coordinator was Bobby Williams. He stepped down. Mark Makins is willing to accept the job.
Make a motion for Mark Mikins to take it.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 30-day waiver for Holy Moses liquor license.
That is the McGregor Pub. They have changed owners. And this is a 30-day notice where they notice the town and basically sit on it for 30 days before they can apply to the liquor authority, and they're requesting the 30-day waiver.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
Second? Second?
Aaron did.
Aaron did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm against.
I always had to do it from McGregor. That's like, could never be open October 1st.
C1?
Yeah, 30 days.
30-day waiver for Scene 1 Wilton LLC liquor license.
That is the Wilton
Sit on 30 days. That's before they can send in their application.
Cinema selling liquor?
Yeah, we're gonna start beer,
wine, and cider.
Are they open?
Not yet.
Where is this one?
This is Wilton Mall, the new cinema.
Thank you.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Has a motion been made?
Yep.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Carried. 30-day waiver for Scene 1 Wilton LLC liquor license. Oh, wait a minute. 30-day, I'm sorry. 30-day waiver for Compadres Diner liquor license.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Opposed. Carried.
Yeah, because it can still take the liquor authority 90 days.
Aye.
Yep.
But this isn't something that,
No, it just
We're
shortens
basically doing
us
it-
sitting on
we're
it
doing it right
any
then.
longer.
We're doing it right then.
Then
Right.
the liquor authority's already gonna have to. That's the only way to do it. The golf course might be first.
unless we're banning alcohol in our town, which I don't think that's,
COVID pay policy, need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Somebody informed us on that.
60 days.
Anyone got a second on the COVID?
Yeah, I read it and I seconded it.
Okay.
Yes.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thanks for that, Nancy. Appreciate it. Good job.
You were the one,
Specialized service with Saratoga County,
one and done.
the town deputy, no motion. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, yeah. Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Carried. Request to bid for dump body, that's you, Michael?
Stainless steel?
Is this the one we talked about
Want
already?
to tell us
Last
about
month?
it?
The budget's for 2024, which was approved.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Contract for it. This contract is for the whole piece of equipment.
Okay.
You're just looking for the box, right?
Okay.
All right. You want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Carried. Code revisions.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing.
March 7th, 7 PM. Okay, Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
You made a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Speed limit reduction response, Rebel Road, informational.
This letter is in response to your July 25th, 2022 letter to this office requesting a speed limit reduction on Ruggles Road between Loudon and Taylor Roads in the town of Wilton. Currently, the approximate 2.9-mile section of Ruggles Road between Loudon Road and Taylor is governed by the statewide 55 miles per hour speed limit. We conducted conducted speed limit investigation of Ruggles Road in 2006, and at that time determined a reduction of the 55 mile per hour speed limit was not warranted. As a result of the most recent request, we conducted a review of the speed limit on the requested section of Ruggles Road. We found no significant changes in either the roadway characteristics or roadside development since our previous investigation. We maintain the 55 mile per hour speed limit is appropriate for the conditions experienced through this corridor.
The last investigation was 2006?
2006.
And they said they reviewed it, didn't say they did a new study. We just reviewed their previous, right?
Yeah, but they say when?
No, they did. They said, as a result of the most recent request, we conducted
When was
a
that?
review.
A review.
Well, this is dated January 23rd, so sometime between July 25th of '22, sometime in the past year and a half.
Thank you.
Yeah, this
We'll
one.
have to
Reviews.
narrow that road down, Mike. We'll get the speed limit changed.
Put it on a road diet.
Put potholes on there, that slows everybody down.
That orange cones.
Why can't the
Oh yeah, that worked well at the mall. Did you see all the cones?
Oh, yes. Yesterday, I have a third
Why don't we do
permitted
it?
driver.
Why are we relying on the state?
My daughter got her permit yesterday. I was like, yeah.
Committee reports.
Kind of tough with the temperatures.
So we did finalize our zone code committee, and one of them things that was brought up earlier, there was a couple changes on that. That went from 80,000 to 100,000. That was on one family, that was on boarding houses, bed and breakfasts, and two-family dwellings and accessory apartments. One of the biggest reasons for that was to keep these houses stretched further apart to stop the spread of fire. So that was one of the ultimate reasons for making the lot sizes bigger. I did look at my notes after the question was raised earlier in the meeting, so that was part of the reason. But we did finalize that committee, and I think it's going to the county for review. Great. And thank everybody for attending.
And the county will give a recommendation?
Sure.
Upon review?
Yeah, there was one other change in the hamlet. We did
Yeah, I noticed that was made a little small.
cut the one side of it, so
It's a good idea.
that was it for mine.
Anybody else got anything?
No, sir.
Maria, you want to do your controller's report, please?
Thank you. First category is our budget transfers for 2023, and items 1 through 14 all apply to our year-end accounting entries. For instance, items 1 through 12 specifically is the payroll allocation of expenditures for merit and year-end accruals for 12/31, and we're just allocating expenses to specific departments. Item 13 is the impact on salt and sand expense based on the year-end inventory. It's another accounting entry, not related to spending per se, but usage of supplies on hand from prior year inventory, which increased the current year expenditure. Item 14 is related to a year-end analysis of medical reimbursement for employees at year-end. Item 15 is related to expenses for employee work shoes, clothing that's greater than budget. So this is the first example of something that we actually have spending that's a little higher than what we budgeted for. And item 16 is related to safety testing for pre-employment testing that we do for employees who are coming on board. And we're just moving money from one budget department that has money to a budget department that had the deficit. So those are our 16 budget transfers.
Does anybody have any questions on any of these budget transfers for Maria?
Oh, I love
Not, somebody want to make a motion?
2 cents,
Make a
9
motion to-
cents, 20 cents.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve budget transfers 1 through 16.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Agreed to it.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Category 2 is our 2024 budget transfers, and this relates, the first one, to a stipend for a head mechanic. He's going to be given a stipend, if the board agrees, to help alleviate managerial decisions, and assuming that there are stipulations for what would be required for this person to do, an agreement per se might be written, perhaps. So that would be effective immediately for the highway department. And the second item is, there was an impact for the reevaluation of pay rates for 3 employees in the highway department, which resulted in a higher wage rate per hour. And that budget impact is approximately $5,700 for the year. So those are the 2 budget transfers for 2024.
Somebody want to make a motion to those 2?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 budget transfers.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The third item is 2024 budget amendments. We have 2 items there. The first one is for the specialized services contract with Saratoga County that the board just recently approved. It's for $125,147, and I am proposing that we use ARPA money to cover that fee for the year. The second item is related to another item that the board just approved, which was to give Mr. Mikens the stipend for the emergency coordinator position. So the stipend is $1,500, and that would be effective January 1st, because that is when Mr. Robert Williams gave his resignation. So.
Make a motion, approve the budget amendments.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Item 4, the 4th category is personnel, and the board had already approved Mark Mikens as the emergency coordinator, so that was just regarding the money and the appointment, so that can be bypassed. The second item under personnel is, back in October of 2022, the board had approved a change in schedule for Marcus Hart, and this is basically informational, but since the board approved the change in schedule, now Marcus's schedule is back to normal, so maybe it's better to just close the loop and vote on the change in schedule back to his.
Motion to approve, yeah. I'll make that motion to approve personnel.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. And the 5th and final category is the completion of the emergency squad review. I reviewed the service award points for the Wilton Emergency Squad, and I had one minor change that I communicated back up to Wilton Emergency Squad. They reviewed their work, they agreed. So pending board approval, that list can be now sent back to the emergency squad for the 30-day review that they have to do, they post up. And if that is, within the 30 days there are no changes there, then PenFlex, who is the pension actuary and administrator, will bill the town of Wilton as sponsor.
No. Do you do the review of the fire department?
No.
No? Are they separate?
Right, town of Wilton is the sponsor for the Wilton Emergency Squad, but not for the fire department.
Okay.
Commissioners get to do that. I'll make that motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second?
Aaron did.
Second?
Third.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'll talk louder.
All right.
I'll make a motion to enter executive sessions for...
Before we go in executive session, that ugly unsafe house has finally disappeared.
Yeah.
61 Jones Road.
Sure has been.
Sorry, John. You good?
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for discussion regarding proposed pending or current litigation.
How was that one?
A little bit. Where are we going, the back room?
Let's go. I got work to do. Oh, that bar, nobody's not like what the hell it was before we had to vote on it. So I couldn't.
You've done it before.
I've never.
Good night.
Oh, Ryan, are you here, Brandon?
He went to use the facility.
You want to make a
We appointed him to 10 other things.
Make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
So does it need to be in there that I recused?
Yes, I'll recuse you.
Thank you.
Even though she gave us money before she left.
Dwayne seconded that.
I know you
Favor?
did.
Yeah.
John, you want to read that resolution what we
Whereas
come up with?
BSA Links LLC in the town of Wilton are desirous of having certain assessment issues resolved as property owned by BAC Links LLC in the town of Wilton. Whereas whereas a settlement proposal resolving pending tax certiorari litigation was, what is it? Sushi litigation was recommended by the Vinslet Law Firm, special counsel to the Town of Wilton, and reviewed by the Wilton Town Board in its regular monthly meeting. Whereas such a proposed settlement would present the parties with an expeditious and economic alternative to further litigation so as to resolve issues between the parties. And whereas the Town Board has determined that the proposed settlement in this best interests of the town, now that the Town Board does hereby accept a proposed settlement for 2022 and 2023 tax Thank you. Proceedings filed by BAC Links LLC, in which the assessments of SBL 140.2-50 and 140.2-253 on the tax assessment roll of the Town of Wilton shall not be reduced, and that the 2022 and 2023 assessed values of the SBL 140.2-49.11 shall be reduced as follows. 22. Prior assessed value, $2,213,600. The revised assessed value, $2,102,981, reduction, $110,619. In 2023, prior assessed at $2,213,600. Revised assessed value, $2,179,120. The reduction of $34,450. And it further resolved that BAC Links LLC shall be entitled to a refund of excess taxes paid based upon the above revisions. Resolved that the Town of Board does hereby adopt this resolution to end the litigation between BAC Links LLC and the Town of Wilton to the above reference assessment.
Can you read that again? No. Do you want to make a motion?
I'm recusing myself.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I will vote for it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I second it.
That's it.
You need this back? Make the motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion to close and adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Carried.
Get better.